Introduction of Rural Sociology and Educational Psychology. Social Values and Attitudes. By Dr. Saurabh Sharma, Associate Professor, Nagaland University, Medzifema Campus, Nagaland. Social Values and Attitudes. Social values. Social values are the shared ideas, principles, or standards that a group or society considers important and desirable. They serve as guidelines for behavior and help people determine what is right or wrong, good or bad, and acceptable or unacceptable within a community. Examples of social values include honesty, respect, cooperation, equality, responsibility, compassion. Social values shape the cultural and moral foundation of a society and are often passed down from one generation to the next through family, education, religion, and social institutions. Understanding attitudes. Attitudes are individual mental positions or feelings toward people, objects, events, or ideas. They reflect how a person thinks, feels, and intends to behave in certain situations. Attitudes are shaped by personal experiences, upbringing, culture, and social interactions. While social values are ideas which help individuals discriminate whether objects or behaviors are good or bad, norms are the rules governing actions. People are expected to behave in accordance with both their values and these normative expectations. Components of attitudes. Cognitive, thinking, what a person believes. Affective, feeling, how a person feels. Behavioral, action, how a person tends to act. Examples of attitudes include positive attitude toward teamwork, negative attitude toward dishonesty, neutral attitude toward a particular tradition. Defining social values and attitudes. Social values according to experts. Social values are group conceptions of the relative desirability of things. Robin Williams, 1968, American sociologist. Social values are the generalized ends consciously pursued by or held up to individuals as being worthwhile in themselves. Teet Parsons, 1951, sociologist and system theorist. SC do define values as a desiderata, anything desired or chosen by someone, sometime. In a broad sense, values may be considered as attitude-related attributes projected upon people, objects, and situations. Attitudes according to experts. An attitude is a mental and neural state of readiness, organized through experience, exerting a directive or dynamic influence upon the individual's response to all objects and situations with which it is related. Gordon Allport, 1935, American psychologist. Attitudes are tendencies to respond to classes of objects in a predictable manner. Kimball Young, 1946, American sociologist. Since values sometimes give orientation or striving toward a given goal, they can be viewed as motives. Socio-psychological determinants of values. People often accept changes when those changes confer prestige or increase their socio-economic status. However, not everyone embraces change equally. Research by Reddy, 1987, identified several factors that influence an individual's acceptance of changes. Personal factors. Caste of the individual. Age. Personal characteristics, truthfulness, honesty, reliability. Economic factors. Possession of land and type of tenure. Wealth and economic position. Hard work and physical stamina. These factors have significant implications for introducing improved practices in communities and understanding how values evolve. Types of values. Classification by Frenkel, 1976. Moral value. Deciding a particular alternative is better because it's more just or humane. Real value. Deciding based on real worth in terms of legal, aesthetic aspects. Market value. Based on how much can be paid, value in terms of price. Personal value. Based on one's likes and preferences over things of similar nature. Instrumental value. Based on standards that help us achieve or acquire other values. Classification by Spranger. Theoretical value. expressed in the urge for discovery of truth. Economic value, based on the criterion of usefulness. Aesthetic value, based around form and harmony. Social value, referring to interest of people in others. Political value, centered around power. Religious value, meaning a mystic sense of unity. Major values prevailing in society. Importance of described status. Status of individuals is often determined by the group to which they belong. There remains an established hierarchy in many societies. Recognition of inequality. Inequalities still exist on various bases, including caste in some societies. Patrilineal tendency. Eldest male member of the family often has supreme power and tends to act autocratically. Status of women. Though there is a tendency to give greater respect, women are still considered inferior to men in many contexts. Charity often has religious significance. A person with charitable disposition is respected. Tendency of non-violence. Killing of animals except for food is considered immoral in many cultures, sometimes creating conflicts. Respect for elders. Older individuals are generally given respect and recognition in traditional societies. Religious attitude. People in rural areas tend to be more religious and follow traditional practices. Desired new values. Equal status for all. Modification in marriage norms, education on intercaste marriage, and more equitable social structures. Evolving values in society. Modifying traditional values. Charitable disposition. Donation should be channelized to the needy and welfare institutions rather than indiscriminately given to vagrants. Attitude to non-violence. Non-violence should be rationalized. Protection of crops from animal damage should be permitted. Intergenerational respect. Respect for elders while also giving due consideration to the perspectives of younger generations. Religion and technology. Along with faith in religion, people need to develop faith in science and technology. Values in agricultural communities. Studies have shown that profitability and productivity are the highest ranked values for farmers adopting improved practices, while scientism was the lowest ranked value for farming. Research suggests that Indian farmers are primarily profit-minded, aiming for higher profit and greater productivity. Role of values and attitudes in agricultural extension. Culture in rural communities is constantly changing. Extension workers serve as powerful agents of change in rural India, with community development programs designed to promote cultural shifts toward government-established goals. Scientific understanding of local culture helps extension workers function effectively, particularly in diverse countries like India. Cultural sensitivity in extension work. Understanding local practices is crucial. For example, piggery is not introduced in Muslim areas and poultry farming may be avoided in predominantly Brahmin areas. Leveraging cultural events. Religious festivals and local functions form an important part of village life and can be utilized for technology transfer through exhibitions and demonstrations. Introducing change strategically. New practices are more readily adopted when introduced in familiar terms or during times of adjustment, like after natural disasters when communities are rebuilding. Value-based adaptation. Extension workers can provide valuable feedback to researchers on how local values affect adoption of new technologies, leading to adaptations that better suit community needs. Understanding attitudes in depth. Attitudes involve knowledge of a situation, but their essential aspect is the characteristic feeling or emotion experienced, along with a definite tendency toward action. Subjectively, the important factor is the feeling or emotion. Objectively, it is the response or tendency to respond. An attitude is a mental and neural state of readiness organized through experience, exerting a directive or dynamic influence upon the individual's response to all objects with which it is related. Gordon Allport. Attitudes are crucial determinants of behavior. To change attitudes, we must address their emotional components. Knowledge, attitudes, and behavior are closely linked. As they learn about the party's policies, their attitude may change. A person may support a political party because they were raised to believe it is the right party. This attitude change will likely result in different voting behavior. Measuring attitudes. Attitude scales. Scientific measurement tools consisting of statements related to a particular attitude. Respondents indicate agreement or disagreement, with responses assigned predetermined values. Public opinion polls. Ask a large number of people 1 or 2 questions to gauge widespread attitudes quickly. Less detailed but reaches more people. Challenges in public opinion polling. Wording of questions. How questions are phrased can significantly influence responses. Even subtle differences in wording can lead to different results, making careful construction of questions essential. Sampling. For accurate polls, the sample must be representative of the population. Stratified sampling sets quotas for categories like age, sex, socioeconomic status, and geographical region to ensure proportional representation. Attitude change. While well-established attitudes tend to resist change, others may be more amenable to modification. Understanding how attitudes change is crucial for education and social influence. 01. New information. Attitudes can change when people obtain new information from other people or mass media, resulting in changes to the cognitive component of their attitudes. 02. Direct experience. Personal experiences often have a powerful effect on attitude formation and change, especially when they challenge existing beliefs. 03. Legislation. Laws and regulations can influence attitudes by establishing new norms and expectations for behavior in society. 04. Group influence. Since attitudes are anchored in membership and reference groups, modifying these social connections can lead to attitude changes. 05. Situational factors. Attitudes may change differently depending on the specific situation and context in which they're activated. Factors influencing the development of attitudes. Maturation. A child's capacity to form attitudes evolves with cognitive development. Young children have limited ability to understand complex or abstract concepts, making them incapable of forming attitudes about remote or abstract problems. At around a mental age of 12 years, children begin to understand abstract terms like pity and justice. Their capacity for both inductive and deductive reasoning shows marked increase during adolescence, enabling them to understand and react to more abstract and generalized ideas. Early childhood, ages 4 to 5. 3 characteristics are particularly notable at this age. Curiosity, expressed through endless questions. Centrosuggestibility, openness to suggestion. Independence, beginning assertions of autonomy. Adolescence. This period is marked by maturation of sex emotions, development of altruism, growth of cooperativeness. These changes form the basis for attitudes that differentiate adults from children. A 12-year-old boy's interest in girls differs significantly from what it will become years later as emotional and social maturity develops. Environmental factors in attitude development. Physical factors. Clinical psychologists recognize that physical health and vitality are important determinants of adjustment. Malnutrition, disease, or accidents can interfere with normal development and lead to behavioral disturbances that affect attitude formation. Home influences. It is widely accepted that attitudes are largely determined by social environment, with home influences being especially crucial. Parents and family members serve as primary models for children's earliest attitudes and values. Social environment. While the home environment is primary in forming early attitudes, friends, associates, and the broader social environment have increasing influence as children grow older and develop wider social contacts. Peer groups become particularly influential during adolescence, often rivaling or exceeding parental influence on certain attitudes. External influences on attitude formation. 1. Government. The form of government significantly influences attitudes toward authority and civic participation. Democratic systems tend to foster different attitudes than authoritarian ones. 2. Media influence. Films and other media demonstrably change social attitudes. Research by Thursday Tone found that approximately 10% of studied attitudes were affected by movie attendance. 3. Teacher impact. In a study of 300 students, teacher personalities were rated as the most influential single factor in their school experience. 65.3% considered this influence positive, while 33.3% viewed it as unfavorable. Curriculum influence. Research by Thorndike found that among school subjects, teachers ranked them in the following order of influence on character development. Teaching itself, highest rank. Athletic sports. English literature. History. Mathematics and foreign languages, ranked much lower. This suggests literature and social sciences have stronger influence on attitude formation than other subjects, highlighting the importance of thoughtful selection of materials in these areas. Teaching methods. In Brown's study, the manner of presentation of subject matter was judged to have a favorable effect by 8% of students and an unfavorable effect by 17.7%, indicating that how content is taught matters significantly. Development of attitudes throughout life. Attitudes are not mere accidents of individual experience but result from day-to-day living in the home, school, and community. The attitudes children develop can be traced, at least in part, to the effect of teacher precept and example. The educational challenge. Schools aim to help learners develop their abilities and acquire attitudes that fit them for constructive living in a democratic society. This involves childhood. Children build most attitudes through imitation, observing and copying those around them. Adolescence. Teens develop attitudes through expanding adjustment problems with widening social groups. Adulthood. Environment continues to influence attitude development throughout life, with media, radio, television, film, printed matter contributing significantly. Attitudes form both organically and through deliberate direction. They develop through imitation, emotional experience, and intentional efforts by individuals, teachers, and others. The multitude of factors influencing attitude development creates unique perspectives in each person. Rural India represents the heart of the nation's traditional identity and continues to be home to the majority of its population. Understanding rural society is crucial for effective policy making and development planning, preserving cultural heritage and traditional knowledge, building bridges between urban and rural populations. Thank you. Thank you.